What's going on, Diablo 2 fans? My name is Dobrunsky, and today I'm going to count down my top 10 magic finding character builds in Diablo 2. Now remember guys, a list like this is extremely subjective. There's a lot of different variables that you have to take into account, whether or not you could be farming on single player or Battle.net, if the character is budget or very expensive, maybe you're farming only one specific area that the character is viable in, or the character can magic find everywhere. So there's a lot of different things you have to take into account, and I did my best to try and address all of these factors and mention them with every character that I go into. But again, a video like this or a list is going to be very subjective, so if you think that I missed a character or I totally got the order wrong, feel free to let me know. But let's take a look at my top 10 magic finding characters in Diablo 2. I'm going to primarily focus on character builds that center around magic finding level 85 areas in Diablo 2 because they have the potential to drop every item in the game. Many of these builds can farm bosses like Indariel and Mephisto, but their monster level and treasure class restrictions limits the number of unique items that they can drop. Now I've attached a link in the description for a previously made video that explains area levels, monster levels, and their relation to treasure class items if you're not familiar with these magic finding fundamentals in Diablo 2. So make sure to check it out if you need a refresher. We kick off my list with the one and only assassin build, the Trapsin. This character is a surprisingly efficient pit farmer. She is an extremely tanky build and is very fun to play. One of the benefits to farming the pits with her versus other areas in the game like the Chaos Sanctuary is that you don't need to worry as much about resistances and you can stack more magic find. Between her combination of Fire Blast, Lightning Traps, and a powerful Infinity Mercenary, there isn't a lot that's going to give her trouble in the pits. She is, however, a pretty expensive character that pretty much requires the rumored Infinity on her Mercenary in order to maximize the lightning damage from her traps. It can also be a little tricky to balance the increased attack speed for laying traps as well as the FCR for efficiently teleporting depending on your character wealth. She can also farm other areas like the Chaos Sanctuary, but her clear speed is going to be slower compared to other powerful, more traditional magic finding builds like the Hammerton or the Lightning Sorceress. Still a very viable option, but her slower clear speeds and expensive gear land her number 10 on my list. Number 9 belongs to one of my favorite characters in Diablo 2, the Wind Druid. This build is extremely versatile and can magic find anywhere without worrying about immunities because his tornadoes deal physical damage and his cyclone provides cold damage. The Wind Druid is also an extremely tanky character with a large amount of elemental absorb, a hard to kill bear summon, and a massive vitality pool. The gear is relatively expensive because Enigma is pretty much mandatory, and he generally has relatively slower clear speeds in some of the later areas in the game like the Chaos Sanctuary. Overall, he's an extremely tanky character capable of magic finding anywhere in the game, but his lower magic finding efficiency holds him back and ultimately puts him at spot number 9. The next spot on my list belongs to a very narrow focused, primarily single player oriented build, the dedicated Pindell running Javelin. This character may be very boring, but she's very effective at what she does, running Pindell repetitively for those desirable uniques like Crown of Ages and Griffin's Eye. Another plus to the Pindell running Javelin is that she's an effective character with budget gear. Powerful rumors like Enigma and Infinity are obviously ideal, but not mandatory. Some of the obvious downsides to this character is that she is a primarily single player focused build, and she can be very boring to play for long periods of time, and Pindell also cannot drop Tyrell's Might, which isn't ideal for people trying to complete the Holy Grail. The Pindell Javelin is very effective at what she does, so I ranked her higher than the Trapsin and the Wind Druid, but her narrow magic finding focus stops me from ranking her any higher than spot number 8. The magic finding based summoning Necro ranks number 7 on my top 5 MF Diablo 2 builds. This character build is pretty unique but extremely effective at the same time. It's most efficient being run on players 1 difficulty or solo games on Battle.net in low level 85 areas like the pits, but this build can MF all areas of the game. The idea behind this build is to target champions and boss packs with amplified damage, letting your merc get the first kill, and then clearing the screen with corpse explosion. The summons are really only used for survivability in larger games or higher player settings. This character is extremely expensive though, requiring a variety of high-end runewords like Beast and Enigma on your Necro, and Fortitude or Infinity or Breath of the Dying on your Mercenary. The summoning, magic finding based Necro is a very effective MF character, but the extremely expensive aspect of this build puts it at spot number 7. The traditional Chaos Bale running Javelin just edges out the summoning Necro for spot number 6. The Lightning Fury Javelin has amazing AoE and can clear the Chaos Sanctuary or Bale Waves easily on the highest player's difficulty settings. Her Charge Strike makes her hands down the fastest single target boss killer in the game, and on top of all of that, she's a very tanky character with a large health pool. However, the Javelin, like many other endgame magic finding characters, is a very expensive build, has horrible faster cast rate breakpoints if you plan on using the body armor Enigma, and balancing magic find, increased attack speed breakpoints, and resistances can also be difficult. Overall, she's a very powerful magic finding character, but she falls short compared to your traditional powerhouse magic finding builds like the Hammerton that have comparable clear speeds but can stack more magic find, so I decided to leave the Chaos Bale Javelin ranked at number 6 on my list. My favorite Diablo 2 character makes the cut for number 5 on my list of best magic finding characters in Diablo 2, and that's the endgame Lightning Sorceress. This character can magic find anywhere in the game with almost no worries about lightning immunities. The Conviction Aura from the Rumored Infinity breaks the majority of lightning immunes in the game, making her a very powerful character. She can also be tailored easily depending on your magic finding goals. You can run a high damage setup and clear endgame areas like the Chaos Sanctuary on a high player's difficulty setting, or you can clear the pits on player's 1 difficulty and stack more magic find. Like every character though, she has her downsides. The Sorceress in general is a rather fragile character compared to the previously mentioned builds on this list, and the Lightning Sorceress is entirely dependent on the Rumored Infinity. And finally, it's also a lot harder to stack more magic find on a Lightning Sorceress than the traditional Blizzard Sorceress. Overall, the Light Sorceress is a great magic finding character that is versatile and can farm multiple areas in the game, and that's why I have her ranked at number 5. So we've made it to my top 4 magic finding characters in Diablo 2 at this point. Now I just want to point out that the remaining characters on my list are all excellent magic finding characters, and I'm really just splitting hairs and being extremely picky at this point. So I decided to rank the Pit Running Poison Necro at number 4. This is an incredibly efficient magic finding character within the pits. It excels on the highest player's difficulty settings and has great AoE with Corpse Explosion. The only real downside to the Poison Necro is that, like many other builds on this list, it's very expensive. It requires Enigma and one of the rarest uniques in the game, Death's Web, to reach its highest potential. It's also somewhat limited to farming the pits. It can farm other areas like the Chaos Sanctuary, but not efficiently on high player settings or large party groups on Battle.net. It's still an amazing magic finding character with style points for days, but I can't rank it higher than number 4 because of its somewhat select areas for magic finding. Number 3 is a build that you've probably been anticipating to be on this list, the Hammerton. There's a reason why this is a staple magic finding build in Diablo 2. It's extremely tanky with a large vitality pool, high defense, is easily capable of achieving max block with Holy Shield, and produces a massive output of magic damage with his blessed hammers. The Hammerton can magic find pretty much anywhere in the game with the exception of the Ancient Tunnels, an area with a large amount of magic immunes, and he also might struggle a little bit on Bale Wave number 2 because of the magic immunes as well, but a strong Mercenary and Holy Bull can clear this wave relatively easily. The Hammerton is arguably the best Chaos magic finding character in Diablo 2. In terms of negatives, there's not really a whole lot other than the character really requires Enigma for max effectiveness and can honestly be a little bit boring to play at sometimes due to his survivability. The H-Gen probably has the best combination of the ability to stack magic find, survivability, and clear speed in Diablo 2, and definitely in my opinion deserves number 3 spot on my list. Number 2 goes to none other than the Pindell / Pit Zerg. This character is mathematically the first or second most efficient TC87 unique hunter in the game. There is some debate that the Player 7 Poison Pit Necro is a bit better, but I'm not going to go into specifics. The Pindell Zerker or Pit Zerker is easily capable of stacking more than 700% Magic Find and can take advantage of the skill Item Find on champion and boss packs in the pit to effectively get 1.5 kills per single kill based on a 50% chance to find item skill. This character is viable on Battle.net and single player, but truly excels in single player where you can roll a static pit map or you don't have to worry about realm downs from repetitive Pindell running. As far as downsides go, this character is more or less limited to farming Pindell and the pits on a low player's difficulty setting and can be fragile in some situations because Berserk is his primary attack, which drops his defense temporarily to 0. The MF Zerkabarb is also a relatively involved character to play and take some time to get used to as well. His gear is pretty expensive, also requiring Enigma, Grief, and maximized MF gear like a full inventory of 7% MF small charms. One of the most effective magic finding character builds in the game, but I can only rank him at number 2 because of his narrow focus magic finding locations and a somewhat bias towards single player. And finally, my number 1 ranked magic finding character in Diablo 2. Now hopefully you guys agree with me on this one, but my number 1 rank has to go to the Blizzard Sorceress. She might not be the number 1 in any particular aspect like survivability for example, but overall I don't know how you can't agree that she is not number 1. She does an incredible amount of damage as a budget character, she's capable of stacking lots of magic find, she isn't dependent on rune words like Enigma for teleport or the Conviction Aura from Infinity, and she also really isn't restricted to where she can magic find or the player's difficulty setting, with the exception of maybe an early budget Blizzard Sorceress. With a powerful mercenary and static field, she can handle cold immunities. However, the Blizzard Sorceress does have the option of magic finding level 85 areas where cold immunes almost never spawn, like the Mausoleum or the Ancient Tunnels. The Blizzard Sorceress just does so many things well early game and continues to get even more powerful with endgame gear like Death's Fathom and the 3-piece Telrash's set. The only real downside to this character build is that you might be forced to do a lot of Mephisto running and Ancient Tunnel running early on as a budget character. It's because of all these reasons that I rank the Blizzard Sorceress as the top number 1 magic finding character in Diablo 2. Well guys, there you have it. That is my list of the top 10 magic finding character builds in Diablo 2. Now, as I was going through it, I tried to, like I mentioned, balance everything. Some characters were a little bit more single player biased, some were area biased, some really only excelled with really good gear, others were kind of budget. So I tried to incorporate all of that into my ranking system. If you guys think I totally screwed up, I missed a character or messed up the order, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd like to know where you think that I went wrong. And if you could throw a like on this video, share it, and even consider subscribing if you enjoyed it, I really would appreciate that. I post new weekly content and stream every week, so there's always new stuff to look forward to on this channel. But again, guys, thank you so much for the support. It really does mean a lot, and I'll see you on my next video or my next YouTube stream. Have a good one.